Welcome to Lunch with Legacy Leaders, a weekly talk show with local and national thought leaders on issues impacting the Black community. Now introducing our host, Miss Ann Marie Sorrell.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Lunch with Legacy Leaders. I am your host, Ann Marie Sorrell, President and CEO of the Mosaic Group. Before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsors for making this broadcast possible, Broward Health and the Florida Lottery. And this week we are joined by the African American Black Alzheimer's Disease Initiative at the John P. Hussman Institute for Human Genomics, University of Miami Miller School of Medicine. If you or someone that is experiencing loss of memory or memory problems, or if you know someone who has those problems, please contact their research team for more information at 877-686-6444. You'll also find the information scrolling at the bottom of our broadcast. So today, I'd like to welcome none other than Mr. Gale Nelson, who's the president and CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters Miami. Welcome, Gale.
Thank you, Ann Marie. It's a pleasure being here with you.
It's a pleasure to have you. I want to, get right into our conversation. But before I do so, if you don't mind, I'd like to properly and formally introduce you to our audience just by going through your bio.
Okay, let's do it.
Awesome. So Gale Nelson was born in Lincoln, Nebraska, and grew up in Toledo, Ohio, where he began his pursuit of personal and professional success. Gale has worked his way up the ladder the hard way, always confident, determined, and focused on his goal in building strong personal relationships. Gale earned his Bachelor of Business Administration in Corporate Finance from the University of Toledo and his Master of Science in Management and Administration of Educational Programs from Nova Southeastern University fellow alum. Gale has earned 8 doctoral hours in nonprofit leadership at Colorado Technical University. And Gale's professional career includes over 20 years of nonprofit management and leadership experience. Currently, he serves as the president and CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Miami. And since joining the team in July 2006, he has played a significant role in the growth and development of the agency's mentoring and fund development programs. Prior to joining Big Brothers Big Sisters, he served as executive vice president and chief operating officer at a moderate risk residential school for court adjudicated boys for 12 years. Gale is a highly effective public speaker and consummate strategist who provides solution-focused leadership. His faith and his family continue to keep him grounded in helping youth and families. Several awards here, selected by the Harvard Business School to participate in strategic perspectives in nonprofit management and CEOs from around the world. Recognized as one of 12 good men of South Florida by the Ronald McDonald House, and recognized as South Florida's most powerful professionals in business and industry by our very own Legacy magazine. So, Gale, you're quite the accomplished professional.
I'm just thankful to serve the kids and work with the kids. So, sister, I'm privileged to be here, and I thank Legacy for just allowing me to be here today.
No problem. So in your own words, I know I just read this whole background, but this is, bios kind of tell all the accolades, but I like for our legacy leaders to really give us in your words, insight and look into how your journey began and how you got to become the president and CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters Miami. First of all, how did you get to Miami from Nebraska?
Let's break it down. I was born in Lincoln, Nebraska, and as I think about my childhood, I grew up in the hood. My parents divorced when I was 2 years old, and we went from Nebraska to Oakland, California. That's where the divorce took place. But then all my kinfolks, my mother's kinfolks were, including her mother, were in Toledo, Ohio, hence University of Toledo. So we can connect some dots here. And so growing up in the inner city with a single mother, working 2 jobs to take care of her 2 boys, and I'm the baby boy, it really taught me resilience, seeing that Black woman do whatever she needed to do to make sure her boys had food on the table and a place and a roof over our head. So that's where my journey began. And so no college degree can ever take priority over what I learned from that powerful Black woman in the inner city, growing up. So now, how did I get to Miami? So from Toledo, I wanted to meet my daddy. and he was in the Air Force, Omaha, Nebraska, and hits the Nebraska connection there. And I saw his picture. My mom told me he was in Oakland, California. So I flew out to San Francisco International Airport, Ann Marie, and I met my daddy in the airport. So now let me take you back about 32 years where I look around, I say, is that my daddy? I look to the middle. I hope that's not my daddy. And then boom, there he was, my daddy in Oakland, California. And he was a contractor. Hurricane Andrew hit in 1992, and the gale force winds of Hurricane Andrew brought yours truly to South Florida, seeking to rebuild a relationship with my father to reconcile with him. But also, little did I know, this would be home, and I help kids reunite with their families and help them reconcile with some of the social challenges as well.
Wow, that's powerful. It's like you were destined to be in this role.
I don't believe in coincidence, Ann Marie. I'm just thankful, and I just followed the journey. And so my journey to Big Brothers Big Sisters has been paved with really the blood, sweat, and tears of my family, namely my mother. I got to get, every time I come to work and help a child, I'm thanking my grandmother and my mother by helping every child.
Absolutely. So tell us more about Big Brothers Big Sisters. The organization, and a while back, I used to consult for the one in Palm Beach County, and oftentimes it was confused with Boys and Girls Club as well as other organizations. So tell us about Big Brothers Big Sisters. You know, what do you guys do? What's your mission? What differentiates you from Boys and Girls Club and other organizations that serve youth?
First and foremost, I want to always state the fact that there's so many great organizations out there doing the work of, social justice and youth development. So I will say that first and foremost, respect to everybody that's committing to helping children. Big Brothers Big Sisters began in 1904. And so we are certainly one of the legacy organizations, to coin a phrase, if you will. And there was a court clerk in New York City. He saw all these kids, specifically boys, going into the courtroom, and he wanted to change that. Ernest Coulter was his name, 1904. And so as a result of seeing too many boys entering the juvenile justice system, Big Brothers Big Sisters of America was born. And not long after that, the same thing was happening to girls. So it became Big Brothers Big Sisters. So with over 250 affiliates nationwide, really seeking to, and our overall mission is to ignite the power and promise of our youth so they can receive their full potential, achieve their full potential. Now, what differentiates us from Boys and Girls Club? Again, great organization, but the Boys and Girls Club, I have one in my neighborhood. There's a club, there's a physical place. Whereas Big Brothers Big Sisters, many of our affiliates don't have a big physical space other than office space, if you will. It's the relationship, that one-to-one relationship that allows that little girl, that little boy to say, that's my big sister, Ann Marie. And we spend that quality time together. And not only do we make the matches through a vetting process, but we support the matches as well through individualized, customized coaching. So I always say it's the place versus the person in terms of the brand confusion that exists. But most importantly, we want to just make sure that everybody knows that one-to-one, that's our brand. And research backs it up with the efficacy of what we do.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for making that distinction very clear. So why is mentoring important, and particularly in a Black community?
I tell you what, as that little boy growing up in the hood in Toledo, it was abundantly clear to me that I needed to see people that looked like me. I needed them. I remember seeing these Black men at schools and at meetings. And I said, okay, there's something different about him, because I saw a lot on the street. In my neighborhood where I grew up, there's a lot of mentoring takes place on the street every day. Let me be clear. Mentoring takes place on the street every day. And when people talk about mentoring, there's always, you got Pookie and Boo Boo. And I tell you what, sometimes Pookie and Boo Boo aren't doing all the right things. And so people can relate to them in the neighborhood. And that mentoring, that older adult, or again, an older teenager may steer a child down the wrong path. I certainly could have gone down that path. So mentoring specifically, the need, the necessity. And I tell people all the time, Ann Marie, don't people say, oh, mentoring, that's nice. No, it's necessary. It's necessary because our kids need exposure. They need to build a relationship with somebody to show them what it's like in a business meeting, someone to show them what it's like to respect authority, to show them what it's like and the reason why you stay in that classroom and get that high school diploma and then go on to college or gain some technical skills. Without, some people call it, apprenticeships, internships. Well, at the end of the day, it all begins with that trusted friend. I'm sure, Ann Marie, you can relate. You can think back to people, brothers and sisters in your life who told you you can do it, who encouraged you and maybe even showed you the way. So it is vitally important that in the Black community, we have more mentors. And when I came to Big Brothers Big Sisters in 2006, I looked around. I didn't see many people that looked like me. And some would even say, well, that Big Brothers Big Sisters is a white organization. I beg to differ, because I know a brother who's running and making it happen every day with a team of people serving kids. 9 out of the 10 kids we serve looked like you and me. So we need to make sure that mentoring never stops in the Black community.
Well, I want to address that too. So 2 things. How many CEOs across the country are Black or of color?
Let me go ahead and answer that question. That number continues to increase. Right now, out of the 250 affiliates, we're now in double digits. Now, I'm not celebrating that because there's many more to go. We have our first Black national CEO after over 116 years of existence. Brother Artis Stevens is at the helm, a Black man. So I am not, I'm certainly, he's the first, but he won't be the last. I assure you of that. But one of the things that's happening is we are more intentional as an organization. And oftentimes, and I'm not in any way disparaging our white allies because it's important. I've had a number of mentors, some Black, some non-Black, but it is important that the kids we serve, many of whom are Black and brown, are children of color, need to see people in leadership who look like us. I had a young lady, a little sister, came into our building because we are fortunate to have a 46,000 square foot building and centrally located near the airport, just south of Miami International Airport, Ann Marie. And she said, "That's not the CEO. He ain't running this." And she said it definitively. But here's the point. They brought her to my office. I said, "Little sister, I work for you." And her eyes just lit up. Our kids need to see Black leadership.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I like that you highlighted that, because one of my questions to you is, I know from my previous experience that it's been challenging to get people from our community, whether it's Black professionals or, converting Pookie into a positive mentor, right? How challenging is that for you? Because a lot of times when it comes to volunteering, serving, yes, we do, especially those who may belong to certain organizations. But how challenging is it for organizations like yourself to recruit mentors, Black mentors, Hispanic or Latino mentors into becoming bigs and for your littles?
I remember when I first came to the organization, Ann Marie, it was very difficult. And I had to dig. I would ask my staff, why is it so difficult? Because I see all these kids, and at one point we were less than like 10%. Then we were up to about 23% in terms of Black volunteers and mentors of color, and about 30% now. And so I started to drill down, and it really came into building a relationship with community organizations. A lot of folks mentor. There's a lot of mentoring organizations that do not have the infrastructure, but they have the relationship. And again, I remember going, my mother dropped me off at Hobbs Barbershop in Toledo, Ohio. And so that mentoring takes place in the barbershop all the time. Brothers are talking about the fight, talking about, a boxing match or anything. So we need to formalize that. And so my strategy has been and will continue to be working through partnerships. I will say to any mentoring organization, because Acme Mentoring is always around. Somebody's got 5 kids with a little infrastructure and all of that. Partner with us so that we can help those children with the proper support, and you don't lose it can still be your mentoring program in collaboration with Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And I want folks to understand, especially in the Black community, it's not about competition with us. It shouldn't be. If we work together, that beautiful little black girl, that black boy can, all the children of color can have that mentor, and we can partner. So that's the strategy for the future, Ann Marie.
No, that's great. Now, is that a more recent strategy, or is that something that's been implemented across the board in other affiliates?
I can speak for Miami definitively in that when I came in 2006 as vice president, and now to have the privilege of serving as president and CEO, that is my ongoing strategy. And that's why we have I'm very humbled to say this, we continue to grow and gain more significance in Miami. And so I have shared this with my colleagues nationwide. We got a brother Kwame that's running Atlanta. We got brother Marcus running Philadelphia. And again, we got our sister Janine running Big Brothers in Detroit. Our sister Alicia in New York. So these are all Black CEOs that I just mentioned to you. Again, so Sister Renee in Iowa. So the footprint, I said Iowa twice, I know.
I'm like, you put an emphasis on Iowa.
There's a lot in Iowa, but not a whole lot of us. But my point is, the bandwidth of Black leadership continues to increase, and the collaborations are really, we gain the recognition and the respect. It's kind of the street credibility we need to have. So I don't want people thinking, well, I had an issue when I was a juvenile. I can't go to Big Brothers, Big Sisters. Why not? There's a lot that Pookie can teach a little girl. Here's mistakes I made. We want you. And if people know who Pookie and Boo Boo is, that's an offline conversation. But you already are with me, Ann Marie. But it's important that we partner with real relationships.
Yeah, we know some of us know who Pookie and Boo Boo is. So, and I think that's great, because oftentimes organizations only target those of us who are already busy and involved in tons of volunteering initiatives and charities and, other community initiatives. And oftentimes others in the community who may not be a part of certain levels or certain circles or whatever the case may be, it's often left out of the conversation and left out of opportunities to become mentors. So I do love the fact that you are reaching beyond the usual group of people who are just tapped for everything, and they're just tapped out, quite frankly, and can't devote the time to, because they're just spread so thin. So I think it's important that your strategy does work with other community organizations, as well as look at those who are really just waiting to be asked sometimes, or waiting to be guided.
Absolutely. One of the things I would say to that is we can increase efficiencies for an existing organization. Sororities and fraternities have outreach programs already. We can help add some efficiency to it, add some infrastructure to it, as well, to help without changing anything. So all the organizations, if we just came to the table together and continue to go to the table, we can find efficiencies in ways where nobody changes their mission, but we help the kids in a more holistic way.
Absolutely. So let me switch gears for a moment, because it's coming up on a year that we've been battling. Well, it is a year since the pandemic started, but particularly here in South Florida, when we started really seeing the numbers and everything here, we're about a month away from that timeline. So how has the pandemic impacted your programs, mentors? Because, people, I'm sure some, not all, some people have been very fortunate where it has not impacted them economically, but others are not so fortunate. So how has your programs been impacted? How has the mentoring relationships, as well as being able to get more mentors, been impacted? And then how about the children and the families that you serve? What has been the impact on them?
When the pandemic first hit, we did a survey of our bigs and littles, and primarily our littles and their families. And the number one need that came back to us was food, meeting basic needs. Some of our bigs were laid off as well. And so what we began to do, we pivoted. That's the first thing I want to share with you. And that pivot from March of 2020 until present day. Let me stress that. We didn't just do this ceremonially for some social media photo shots. No, this is ongoing. Weekly food distribution, that still takes place. Our littles can come to the building, at 550 Northwest 42nd Avenue and get food every single week. We certainly, with our bigs, the littles, we started the virtual matchmaking. We could interview somebody right now, today. They fill out the application. We interview them like we're talking right now. We would match them with a little brother, little sister today. And they would just meet virtually until it's safe to do some more in-person activities. We have done some limited in-person, what we call impact activities. There's one in particular that I'll share with you. We had a beautiful Black little sister. Her name is Harmony. Shout out to little sister Harmony. And her big sister, who looks just like her, big sister Ariel. We did a sushi making activity. It was socially distant. Brought sushi maki came in. We had a chef, and they created an impact role. And so the first time she ever had sushi, and it's just, again, we have to be creative. So we continue to make virtual matchmaking, virtual matches. We continue to do limited in-person events, proper social distancing and masking. But the most important thing, Ann Marie, is these kids need us now more than ever, and we continue to be there for them. But we use a lot more digital than we've ever done before.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you're able to be creative and find innovative ways to keep everyone connected and to really provide in the time of need. So kudos to you and your organization for what you're doing in the community. What are some of your most impactful initiatives?
Wow. I start with mentoring children of incarcerated parents, breaking the cycle. And we don't highlight what a parent or guardian has done in terms of anything breaking the law, but these kids are in situations, and we want to break the cycle of delinquency. The overrepresentation of Black folks in jail, we need to stop all this. And so we have a mentoring program that works with children who has a parent or guardian either currently incarcerated or a history of incarceration. That's one program. We also, speaking of juvenile justice, we have Bigs in Blue. It is not lost on you or me that we need to make sure that there's positive relationships between children of color and law enforcement. We are reminded, sadly, every day or far too often, not just going back to George Floyd, but long before, historically, with some of the issues with policing and the Black community. And so we have a program called Bigs in Blue. We started that about 10 years ago, Ann Marie, 10 years ago. We match police officers with children, build that relationship. I'm reminded of our sister in Miami Gardens, first Black female police chief in the city of Miami Gardens. She has been a big sister to 3 little girls. Shout out to Chief Delma Noel Pratt, because, and see, she allows us, she one of many police chiefs, because I don't want to just get just any officer. I want the chief. I want to impact the culture of the police department. And so Chief Pratt, Chief Hudak, Director Freddie Ramirez, and so many others that have really worked with us to help these children of all ages to be matched with police officers as well. And lastly, we have a school to work program, workplace mentoring, Ann Marie. High school students are in the boardroom so they can see exactly where the decisions are made, because that next Black CEO needs to come from someone who's been in that culture, exposed to the culture, and now they can take the seat without apology.
I love those programs. Now, is that only in Miami, or do your other affiliates have the same or similar programs?
I'm sharing with you how we get down in Miami, but I do know that my brothers and sisters throughout the nation, many of these same programs are not only here in Florida, but across the nation as well. So we as a brand, see, people don't know about all these things with Big Brothers, Big Sisters. We don't want to be that taxi cab in an Uber world. So we had to pivot and innovate as well. So yeah, we're doing our thing to make sure we stay relevant, especially within the Black community.
Definitely. I did not know about those programs, so thank you for bringing them to light. I really appreciate it. And so how does the community support you and get involved in what you're doing and support the children that you're serving?
I know our website is scrolling on the bottom of the screen. So one, reach out to us. And I always say as clearly as I can, as concisely as I can, spare some time. And so when you think about the time of 1 hour a week for somebody to be matched with a child and connect digitally So it doesn't even cost you any gas right now, but you can connect with a little boy or little girl. So reach out to us, bbbsmiami.org. That's one quick and easy way to get involved. And sometimes people say, I'm so busy, I can't do it, I can't make the commitment. I have no problem telling people, if you would make a terrible big brother or big sister because you won't commit to a child, then if you can't spare the time, spare a dime. Go ahead and any amount, every little bit makes a difference. So invest, make that impact investment to help a little girl like LaShawn, little sister LaShawn, Coconut Grove. Her big sister gave her a book to read all the time. LaShawn said, man, she's always having me read. Now, Dr. LaShawn, she's now a doctor. She's now an author out in California doing her thing, a little sister from Coconut Grove. So don't ever underestimate the cost of your investing your time or a small investment to help us make more matches.
That's so important. And I think that, for anyone out there listening, you never know the impact you're going to make on one. And sometimes that's all it takes is one. I have a young lady that I mentored when I was in college, and she was in middle school. I think I started mentoring her when she was in elementary school. She was stubborn. Whew. Just couldn't break through to her. At least I thought I wasn't breaking through to her. And so for the next, 3 years, I spent mentoring her and a couple of other girls. And I'll never forget when I moved away from Tallahassee. And I just found this letter she had. I was going through some old things, and I found a couple of letters that she had wrote me. I had even forgot she wrote me. And she, expressed in these letters like, oh, I hope all is well. Like the first letter was like, she didn't really want to say she missed me. She's like, oh, my mom and my sisters are saying that I'm over here sick because you're gone. But I'm not buying into that. And then, of course, the next few letters, she warmed up. Oh, well, I do miss you. I hope all is well. But it was just so. And, she went on to college. She, served in the military. Now she's married with kids and, having a really good life, entrepreneur. But you never know the impact you're going to make. And I remember going to her high school graduation. She was the first one out of her siblings to graduate from high school. And she wasn't the oldest. She was like the second to the last one. And she was the first one to graduate from high school and then go on to college and go on to the military. And so you really don't know the impact you're going to make with just an hour or a couple of hours a week, a couple of hours a month, whatever it is that you can give to a child. So, shout out to you and your organization, all the affiliates across the country and everyone who volunteers as a big brother, as a big sister, and anyone who's just mentoring out there with any organization, or even if you're not a part of an organization, you found someone to mentor. You just really don't know the impact that you can make on someone's life. So thank you so much, Gale, for you and your organization.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And can I just leave one golden nugget before we close up?
Yeah, I was going to get to that. I was going to say, is there anything else you want to share before you leave your golden nugget?
Well, all I can say is thank you. And for just this opportunity, this platform. And the golden nugget is the cost of doing nothing is far too high. And now more than ever, our kids, especially those in communities of color, they need us. They need to be exposed. They need to be comforted. It's been a traumatic time for these kids. And so long story short, if you're in South Florida or anywhere in this nation, bbbs.org, that's our national link. BBBS Miami, and we are partnering with our sister. We got a new sister, Melina, my sister up in Broward, BBBS Broward. We're going to do some things here in South Florida that's going to knock it out of the park. So stay tuned.
Well, definitely can't wait. And again, we at Legacy, thank you. We look forward to continue to support you and new sister in Broward. Can't wait to meet her. So we definitely look forward to supporting you. So stay with us for just a moment longer. Gale, we just have a few announcements. I want to again thank our sponsors, Broward Health and the Florida Lottery. And again, remember to join the African American Black Alzheimer's Disease Initiative at the John P. Husband Institute for Human Genomics, University of Miami Miller School of Medicine. If you or someone is experiencing memory loss or memory problems, please call 877-686-6444. Don't forget, our Power Issue nominations are open. Visit miamediagroup.com /nominations to nominate a Black professional in Broward, Miami-Dade, or Palm Beach County. February 14th, our Black History Month issue will be released, so stay tuned for that. And don't forget to tune in to Soul with our host, Nikki Jellin, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. as we disseminate intellectual entertainment on fashion, arts, culture, relationship, mental health, and food in South Florida. We're live on Facebook as well as YouTube every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Next week's guest is Enid Henderson, Agency Field Leader at State Farm Insurance and Financial Services. Please remember to share this video, mark your calendar, because we are here every Thursday at noon. So we'll see you next week. And thank you so much again, Gale, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon, everyone.